Indeed, indeed. So, let's take a look at map number 3. Map number 3 today is going to be Destination, and this is one of the greatest maps ever created in StarCraft.
Absolutely, Destination. Not only is it a really nice kind of balanced out map, but it's one of these one-on-one maps, excuse me, that really rewards creativity.
Yeah, it does, and we see a lot of interesting games on here. You see the stats. It's not the most balanced map, but it's been played so much that everyone knows how to win in all these different situations. We see a lot of interesting plays here, a lot of interesting games because of the map architecture. There's all sorts of paths you can go up, high ground expansions, low ground expansions, plenty of places to hide stuff. So, it's a great map. And this is a map particularly that these guys will have played a lot on because of IC Cup. This map has been played to death.
It's kind of like the new Python. In that sense, everybody's played on this map. This is a map where you, if you position lurkers perfectly, you can stop a lot more Terran units than you should be able to. So if kolll is able to get to that tech up and just position his army well, MorroW's going to be in hell trying to get across that map. But at the same time, if MorroW can breach the bridges in the center of the map and get over there, it might be very difficult for kolll to get that third base up.
Yeah, and this map, another really interesting thing about it, of course it's a two-player map, you can proxy stuff and whatnot, but those little bridges make it so that if you don't win really, really early, you're not going to win until really, really late. It doesn't matter how far ahead you get. It is almost impossible to break your opponent over those tiny little bridges until you have your full tech up and get ridiculously far ahead. So, I expect this game to be a lot longer than the first two games, and that being said, I think that we should get this going. What do you think?
Let's do it, man.
All right, let's go to game number 3 between MorroW and kolll in the PokerStrategy.com Team Liquid Star League. Alright, here we go. We have MorroW at the north position on Destination with Terran, and down south we have kolll with Zerg. And I am excited. This map, one of my favorite maps ever. I love to commentate games here, and I think that we're going to see exactly what we have been seeing from kolll on this map. Definitely a 2-hatchery Mutalisk build. It's especially good here. That natural, very hard to defend against Mutants because of the high ledge around the minerals. So koll's build, I think, he's already shown he's going to do it on pretty much every map. But MorroW, what is MorroW going to do here?
Well, MorroW's playstyle is a little bit unpredictable. He obviously knows what he's doing, but I don't know what to expect from him on this map in this game. So only time can really tell here. What I can say, though, is that MorroW does have the option of going all in on a map like this.
He does.
Out of all the maps we have.
But it doesn't look like he's going to. Sending an SCV over, this is a very easy map to wall in. Of course, he can make 2 supply depots and a barracks at his choke, so that not even Zerglings can get through. This can make it so he can tech or hide anything and just be really, really safe in the early game.
What's funny about this map is back when I was doing the GOM TV Classic, I remember right when this map came out and I started casting on it, I looked at the map and I played a few games and I thought, God, I don't know what to expect with this map. I thought it looks like a cool map, but is this map actually going to be balanced? Is this going to be a map that's going to be here, in a few more months? And what's odd is I'm amazed at how balanced and how dynamic it turned out to be. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, stats-wise, it doesn't look as balanced as some of these maps, but stats don't always tell the full story. It is actually a pretty well-balanced map overall.
Right, you can't play fantasy football when it comes to maps. It has a lot more to do with actually how do the races interact with each other, and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, we are going to see what looks like it's going to be either a mech build or a rush to wraiths.
And, this map is actually extremely good for mech against Zerg. You can cut the map in half quite easily. As long as you've got a really solid build order and you take your third base at the same time, Zerg has a hard time killing you. So it could be something like that, but at the same time, there's a lot of cheesy things you can do here. Maybe a mech build opening up with a vulture drop or something like that.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And one other thing to keep in mind is that I kind of want to go off what you were saying there earlier. Yeah, mech builds can be so this map because Terran, when they mech on a map like Destination, you don't even have to attack your opponent.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but all you really have to do is sit there and defend, and eventually it's going to boil down to these 2 expansions on either side of the map that you both are kind of sharing. It's these last resort expansions, but siege tanks backed up with turrets and Goliaths, and even a few spider mines are not going to stop that. And because, because this map is, I guess I could say, taller than it is wide, it's a map that can be tough for Zerg to do massive drops on, which is really one of the only ways you can stop a huge mech Terran army is by recalling in their base or by dropping a ton of Zerg units in places that they can't get to as quickly.
Quite true, Tasteless. Quite true.
Well, thanks.
Yep. Now, we see that the drone has been alive inside MorroW's base for a long time, and now if we look down at the natural kolll, you see a 3rd hatchery. So kolll is actually adapting to his opponent at this point, which is really great. I mean, this bodes well for kolll, man. He is not just a little robot that copies. He sees, okay, this is a mech build. 3 hatchery is so much better against mech than 2 hatchery.
It's almost
unfathomable.
that layer at all. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah, you don't have to rush for that layer at all. Unfortunately, he hasn't killed that SCV off because there is a timing attack you can do against mech where you do Hydra Rush. Kind of in a similar build order you'd see against Protosses that fast expand, but of course the theory of how it works is differently because it's a different matchup, but essentially your Hydralisk would just pick off those mech units before their special abilities have been upgraded to take out whatever's going to be thrown at them. And he is going to go for the Spider Mine upgrade. That's important.
Yeah, that's right. MorroW upgrading the spider mines and at the same time getting an armory. So that's a very quick armory before even the 2nd factory, which is a little bit peculiar. He doesn't need it quite that fast, maybe getting it for a quick upgrade on his mech units. Because he does not need Goliaths quite that fast against a 3 hatchery build.
One thing that's funny about meching vs. Zerg is kind of like meching vs. Terran, there's a lot of ways to do it. There's almost more ways to open up meching against Zerg than there are ways to go medic marine after you fast expand against Zerg.
Well said, Tasteless.
Oh,
that is very true.
Thanks. Coming from a Protoss player, it must be pretty cool after all.
Yeah, man, you're a smart guy. I didn't know you knew that much about TVC.
I'm full of surprises. I've been acting like a noob since I got over here, but once the mics turned on, it was all a big lie. No, but really, it's hard for Zerg unless they get an Overlord in there, and unless they've actually played a lot of Terran to really know what to expect. Especially when you consider that most Zergs, even when they train, have this history of playing against bionic style of medic marine and tanks and vessels. So what I'm thinking from Koll's standpoint is this is a situation where he's going to have to think on his feet. Especially if you're 14 and you've probably been playing the game for, what, like 3 years or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's even less for kolll in this case. But, you know, that's quite true. You have to think on your feet a lot against mech. And we see the variation that MorroW is doing is quite peculiar. It's actually not going to be the mech build. It's actually going to be Flash's build.
Yeah, okay. Wow. This is normally a build we only see Flash do, hence the title of that build order. But there's a lot that goes into this build. First of all, it's a build that requires absolute perfect balance.
Yeah.
Absolute perfect balance. You cannot get, you know, one extra medic. You cannot get one extra vulture. And you have to keep that balance together as you're going through the game. But what's funny about this is that this can completely turn the game upside down for Zerg, because especially when you see openers that have, you see vultures moving around the map, mines being planted, and especially if you watch a lot of VODs and follow a lot of Star Leagues on Destination, you see most everybody mechs. So this can actually completely throw the Zerg off. All of a sudden the Zerg might have a bunch of Hydralisks with range and speed and think, oh my god, I'm fighting units that have stim. I mean, it's even the reason why he's positioned the barracks up at the top right. Is that's the last spot it's going to be picked up on.
Absolutely, and you know, I think I should point this out. This build, it had a short run where we saw it a lot. Flash used it several times in Pro League, and here come the mutas right now, so I'll hold that thought. They're going to fly and see some turrets. They don't see any Marine medic yet, so this is quite good by MorroW. He's going to have to move these Goliaths back, though. He cannot be losing these. Okay, they are very crucial out of that one factory.
He actually is not quite in range. Now he spotted it, and now this is where we might actually see Hydralisk range canceled. Excuse me, back at home. Okay, now he's going for lurkers. We don't know if he actually was getting Hydralisk speed or range. But, excuse me, yeah, this is a key moment, is now he has the opportunity to switch up his build and say, okay, I'm against that one build that I have played against the least, as would any Zerg player say. and he's gonna have to adjust.
Yeah, but let me go back to the history of this build just for a moment here to really go over this, because this is not a build you're going to see a lot. Basically, for about a month, this was all the rage, this build, because Flash started using it in Pro League and got some decent wins out of it. Now, the thing about this build is it catches your opponent off guard. We see nice Mutalisk Micro, by the way, here at the Natural.
Yeah, that was pretty big.
Yeah, taking out several SCVs. You know, his Goliath count went down there as he tried to hide the Marine Medic a little bit longer, and that's why he's not defending these mutas quite as well. But, you know, as I was saying, you know, this build order, it's actually not a really great build to have standard. It's a good build to know, though. You basically use it, and if your opponent doesn't scout it quite right or doesn't react quite right, it'll beat them. But, you know, overall, if they scout it in time, it is not that good a build order. So, you know, MorroW is going to be relying upon the late scouting and hopefully kolll not knowing exactly how to counter this. So we're going to have to see. He's just getting Goliath range now. We see that kolll, he's already upgraded. The Lurker upgrade hasn't... there we go. Morphing a few right outside his natural. He does have a third base over at, you know, the base on the left.
He has 4 bases, actually.
Yeah, and
taking
that one on the right as well. I think what he's going to do here, which I kind of do like, is say, you know what, I know that this timing is most likely going to kill an expansion. Go ahead, kill an expansion, because I'm going to have another one, and it's going to be defended. As soon as I see you attack the other one, I know where to make my defenses. I'll have enough time to get them up, and then he should be in pretty good shape.
You know, one thing about this build order is it, from the Terran standpoint, is it forces the Zerg to change tech patterns rapidly. If you don't have your eyes on the ball, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So that we have to keep in mind as well. Okay, hold that thought. The Lurkers are moving up now. And like I said earlier, if the Lurkers are in good position, you're never going to get an army of Medic Marine over there in place. There's the Panda Bear guy. Finally got a shot at him. And the Medic Marine are moving over here now, but I think if these Lurkers just burrow here, I don't see him getting across.
That's right. Now, I really like how kolll's playing here. We do not see a lot of Goliaths in there. The Goliaths oftentimes can help you take out those Lurkers. They take a lot of hits from Lurkers. They have a lot of hit points. So, you know, it's important to have a few of those. But, again, he's lost a few already to mutas. Does not have a very high Goliath contingent. And it really looks to me like kolll, you know, he's holding on long enough that he's going to hit that important number of units where he is not going to be broken easily by MorroW.
I think you're absolutely right. He's in perfect position here. MorroW, you know, one problem with this build order is that you end up getting the vessel really, really late.
That's right. You know, right now in the main base, he is going for the science facility, and look at this, in the middle, the muta's trying to harass that army, but with the ranged Goliaths, you know, he's not going to be able to do very much. That is part of the beauty of this build, that the mutas just cannot harass your Marine Medic army very well because of the extra damage. They're like walking turrets.
Yeah. By the way, those things are pretty ridiculous. Turrets as it is. Hold that thought, though. This is the big battle. This is the key moment. Terran going to be driven back here. Actually not losing as many units as I thought he would. A little bit of an exchange there, but what's most important is that Zerg hasn't lost position. And you can see Terran is going to have to now focus on getting the third base. You're not going to get across there and take out an expansion. And this means that kolll's economy is going to get out of control.
Yeah, you know, I think kolll is actually doing ridiculously well right now. He's got 4 bases up. He's going to be up at 4 gas. If you just look at his main base for a moment here, I mean, he's getting an Evo, he's getting a Sunken, he's already got his Defiler Mound up. The Greater Spire is just being made right now. So, I mean, right now, he is in such great shape. kolll is playing beautifully, and here are some siege tanks in the middle of the map. So it looks like MorroW, he's going to have to get something done. He needs to kill one of these gas bases, or he's going to be overwhelmed.
Okay, it's all about this timing attack up here. He's moving these tanks across. I don't think that Zerg has the opportunity to really go in for a squash here. However, all he has to do is buy time, unburrow, backup, burrow, unburrow, backup, burrow, until he has so many units that he actually can go in for the squash move where he just overwhelms. Remember, destination, once you get across those double bridges, you cannot retreat in the same manner. It's not like the middle of Outsider.
That's right, and as you've said, he keeps on unburrowing and reburrowing, walking back, and if he can kill this big army of MorroW, I think that kolll is going to be able to take this game quite easily. Look at this, he's got a flank going on now.
He's got Guardians, and I think now he can go in for the squash. Let's find out, though. It's all up to whether or not he can target fire those Lurkers. He's going to have to move back. No.
Beautiful flank right there, man. beautiful flank, and he's going to clean up MorroW's army. And MorroW has to know now that he is in deep trouble. 4 gas Zerg from MorroW, and kolll just runs by that last siege tank with his lurkers, going to run right up, and really no way for MorroW to hold on. And in fact, his macro really suffering this game. He is up at 1,200 minerals, not where you want to be. Not that it matters though, because kolll has so much tech. You know, his upgrades have started and everything. So kolll in a dominating position right now.
Yeah, when Zerg wipes out your army as Terran and has double your bases, and he basically has 4 gases, so you can actually switch to an ultraless tech, which means Zerg will never get a 3rd base, especially on a map like Destination, where if you don't get that 3rd base, it's hell. You can get it back, but it's going to be hell.
Yeah.
And of course, what happens after you get that 3rd base, if you're behind early on, is you're never going to get the 4th.
That's right. You know, I can't see MorroW even getting his 3rd up. He has the command center floating over his Zergling right now. But look at that. Dark Swarm is done. He throws the lurkers down. He's got Swarm up there, some Guardians as well. And MorroW is being shredded. I think we're going to see a GG any moment here as kolll pushes into the natural. When you get into the naturals with Swarm and lurkers, the game is pretty much over. Terran cannot do anything against that without mass vessels.
GG. Okay, so far kolll in the lead, 2-1, but that could all change. Let's go on to game number 3, or number 4.
Number 4
Number 5. Number 4.
But